Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Off the Cuff with Buti Manamela. My name is Seema Ramnaran, and it is my pleasure to stand in as the technical host of today's space. So, the feature Ask a Man is popular on radio. I like to think of this as Ask a Manamela. Off the Cuff today is on postgraduate funding and bursary opportunities. We have a star studded lineup of people who are going to take you through postgrad and bursary funding opportunities. Over to you, Deputy Minister Manamela.
Thank you very much, Seema. Um, and this is, as you indicated, going to be quite an exciting and jam-packed conversation. And welcome to everyone, and welcome back to those who are joining us again. This happens every Friday at 3 o'clock until 4:30, where we engage on a whole range of issues which affects particularly students, but almost everyone in the post-school education and training sector. Today we're looking at the postgraduate funding, which has been one of the troubling issues for many students since I think you would recall that government took a decision that the National Student Financial Aid Scheme would exclusively be funding undergraduate students, but we'll also look at some of the implications of that policy and how it not only affects postgraduate students, but it also affects the students who are the so-called missing middle. I don't like using that, but that's the working definition that we are exploring. So we have quite a number of people today that we've invited to come and talk to us. Firstly, about the potential that exists in terms of undergraduate funding for those who are regarded as or classified as missing middle, those who are not covered by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, but still cannot afford to study at university or TVET college. But predominantly, we'll be looking at funding for students who are considering to pursue their postgraduate studies. So some of the people that we have today includes the CEO of the National Research Fund, the NRF, Professor Fulu Fellow Nelwamondo. We also have Ms. Ruth Roberts, who's the Department of Higher Education and Training's International Scholarships. Dr. Feleng Yende, who's the CEO of the FPNM CETA, who will also be talking to us about some of the opportunities that exist in the CETA space in terms of postgraduate funding. And then we've got Mr. Mone Dutoy, who is the CEO of Ikusasa Student Financial Aid Program, or IFSAP, but they mainly focus on undergraduate funding. And then we're going to talk to some of the students who studied abroad, Zubair, Verashia, Kimberly Tommy, Anza Tiwa, who've got very exciting stories to share. But I'll also like to invite you, if you've joined the space, to request to speak later on when we call in for questions. We've got some very exciting people that we're going to be talking to, including the guests from Sasol. We've got Charlotte Mukwena, who's the Executive Vice President for Human Resource and Stakeholder Relations at Sasol, who are having a very exciting bursary that provides support. But also, if you're there and you're listening and you are part of this space and your organization or institution is committed to student funding, both undergraduate and postgraduate, but preferably postgraduate, or if you are currently studying abroad or even locally on a scholarship, tell us more about that. Maybe you could be plugging in someone who may not have funding, who want to consider postgraduate study with one of our universities locally or internationally. I was chatting to someone on Twitter yesterday, and who was telling me that the scholarship partnership that we have with Hungary is now open. I went there and I met with some of the students who are studying some programs that are, well, bizarre to me, quite strange. I didn't even know people can study those kind of programs. So there's a lot of activity, very exciting stuff that's happening that I really want you to be part of. But before we get into postgraduate funding, I want to start with ISFAP, Monet Toy, and their organization has been there for some time, and they are basically looking at undergraduate funding, those who are not necessarily covered by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Mone, um, are you Fridaying well? Can you tell us more about ICUSASA Student Financial Aid
Yes,
Program,
thank you very much,
ISFAP?
Deputy Minister. Really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about ISFAP. ISFAP was really started funding students in 2017. We are really a model of private and public partnership. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So ISFAP was started in 2017 to really support those students that fall outside the scope of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. We focus primarily on students with a family income between 350,000 and 600,000. It's really a very strong partnership between the private sector and the public sector, in the sense that a lot of our funding is coming from large companies, medium companies. ISFAP was formed by the founding members, which include the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, the Banking Association of South Africa, Association of Saving and Investment South Africa, Business Leadership South Africa, and the First Rand Foundation. So as you can hear, it is really a lot of the big companies coming together and saying we want to make a contribution to skills development in the country, support those students that fall outside the support net of the National Students Financial Aid Scheme. And we focus on occupations of high demand. So it was very interesting to see very recently the new list being announced. But for the moment, we focus on engineers, medical doctors, chartered accountants, actuaries, IT and data science. So we really want to make sure that those students that we help and fund end up becoming positive contributors to the economy. Definitely, we don't want to create unemployed graduates. We want to create graduates that can really make a difference in the economy.
What are those programs? Just to give us an idea. You don't have to mention all of them. The ones that you specifically fund.
Yes, so we very focused on the engineering programs, for example, computer engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, industrial engineering. We also focus on the BCom accountancy degrees at the at some of the SAICA accredited universities. So those are the students that would proceed to qualify as chartered accountants. On the actuarial side, it's typically the mathematics and actuarial sciences degrees. So very much in the STEM focus areas there. We also have quite a big cohort of medical doctors. So the MB-CHBs, for example, at Walter Sisulu University, at UKZN. Then we also have nursing at Tshwane University of Technology. And then there's the information technology, for example, the Bachelor of Information Technology at Nelson Mandela University, just to mention a few examples, Honorable
Okay.
Deputy Minister.
Okay. So who qualifies for this?
So our main focus is on those students that fall within that, as you said, maybe we don't like the term, but it has become sort of the term that is used, the missing middle. So it's students that typically is too rich, so to speak, to qualify for the NSFAS, but too poor still to afford those qualifications. So a big driver of our selection process is the is confirming the family income, and if they fall between that 350 to 600,000, the next filter that we then apply is to see if they've qualified for one of those qualifications at the universities. Okay. And then, of course, it's always subject to how much funding we have received and support we have received from the private sector, as well as the CETAs and the other bodies, government and non-government bodies that support us.
Okay. All right. And how does one get hold of ISWAP?
Well, Deputy Minister, definitely one place is just to, follow us here on Twitter. You can also visit our website, isfap.org.za. And of course, we are on all the other social media platforms as well, Facebook and LinkedIn, etc.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine. You're sticking around because I'm sure there'll definitely be a couple of questions for you. But you strictly, and you indicated this earlier to us, that you strictly consider funding for undergraduate.
Yes, Deputy Minister. At the moment, we are very focused on undergraduate, and we really want to move into the postgraduate space. We've already signed a memorandum of understanding with the with a few of the bodies that support higher education postgraduate, but we're still in our sort of early days in terms of just making sure our undergraduate program is functioning well. But in future, we definitely want to.
Just a quick one, Monet. Just a quick one. How many students have you funded thus far?
So to date, we have supported around 2,200 students since 2017.
Good. But beyond beyond giving the bursary, is there any additional support that you provide for students?
Very, very much so. It's incredibly important to us that it's not just a financial support, but a full wraparound support that we provide to those students, which includes mental health, psychosocial, additional academic tutoring, even if they have issues with their accommodation or they have issues, medical issues, or they need glasses. Of course, we also provide them with devices and data. But the main thing for us is giving them a holistic support so that we significantly increase the chance of success, and that we really want them to pass in record time.
Okay. Super. Just stick around in case there's some questions for you, and then we'll have a conversation. But I want to bring in Professor Nelomondo, who's the CEO of the NRF. And, Prof, every time I go to any university, or if any students meet me, wherever, the key question they ask is, where can I get access to postgraduate funding? And obviously there's been a lot of challenges, since the National Student Financial Aid Scheme started only specifically focusing on undergrad student, and therefore the major chunk of funding for postgraduate studies falls on your shoulders, and of course to others also, but predominantly on the NRF.
Indeed, Deputy Minister, and good afternoon to you and all the people who are gathered in this sitting. The issue on the postgraduate funding, I think, is a very big issue because the pressure that we have obviously is enormous in that almost everyone is looking for funding. But maybe before I get into the details of these, let me just spend a minute just giving a sense to the people who are sitting on this platform now. Just give them a sense of what the NRF does very briefly. So our mandate, which is the Act, the NRF Act, puts 4 elements on our shoulders, one of which relates to the post
different courses. For example, for medicine, it's at about 95%.
All right. So we're still trying to get back the CEO of the NRF. I don't know if we have back here. CEO, are you back? Okay, but let me talk to Kim. Kim is one of the students. We'll definitely get everybody else back on board. But Kim is one of the students who um, was a recipient of one of the bursaries. But what's exciting about it is that she was named. You were named, Kim, as the new curator for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. And you've just completed your Master of Science in Palanthropology, which is the study of living humans, primates, and all of that. Now, where did you study this? This sounds exciting.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Like you said, I am the new curator at the Maropeng and Sterkfontein Visitor Centers in the UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Cradle of Humankind. I did my studies through Wits University, a Witty through and through, undergrad all the way through to now my PhD, which I'm currently pursuing at the School of Anatomical Sciences at Wits. I've received in the past an NRF grant. I'm currently a recipient of the L'Oreal UNESCO South African National Talents Program. So yeah, I think I've applied for as many grants as possible during my postgraduate studies. Oh, I lost you there. I'm back. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, I was saying, what kind of support did you receive with this kind of funding? Was it just a grant that says, go and do your palanthropology, or was there even more that you got as part of the support?
So in terms of the NRF grant I received, my first time receiving the grant was for my master's. And I think that also falls into what was discussed earlier with training for students regarding writing grants. I think writing grants are such a daunting process, and I am grateful that I had very good mentorship offered to me by one of the centers of excellence, actually in mathematics and statistics at WITS, where we did workshops on grant writing, and that strongly helped improve the way I structure my grants, the way I look at my research, and how I portray that to funders. In the beginning, I think because paleontology is demarcated as a research area of interest, obviously because of South Africa's geographic and heritage advantage in that, I mean, just yesterday there was an announcement of a new fossil hominin discovery. So partly because I was in this field where we are trying to transform the field and trying to introduce better representation and more African, especially Black women, Black African scholars into the science. Um, that was a grant that I think was not tailored to paleo sciences, but it enabled me to pursue my studies in paleo sciences. With my PhD,
Okay.
like I said, I moved over to anatomy, but it's still based largely in understanding human evolution. So I think that that is a key point, is that um, students need to kind of be mentored and introduced to this world, because it is very scary when you are applying for your first grant, especially the NRF grant, which is very long and it's very detailed, and you have to really introspect when you're doing that. With regards to L'Oreal, so L'Oreal is not based at a national institute. It is offered by L'Oreal as a company and with their science foundation. And that again is, I think, a good example that we need to also instill in students, that there are other opportunities available, that we don't have to necessarily look at the channels that we are most exposed to, and that we need to start making these other opportunities visible and accessible to students.
Okay. So we have the NRFCO back, and you were zooming in into specifically the postgraduate funding, um, and before we were rudely interrupted. But if you can continue.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Load shedding indeed interrupted us, so I continued talking for a very long time. I don't know where you lost me.
Okay, but you were just
But
about to
maybe,
start with postgraduate funding.
okay, so basically, maybe if I just start from here, and I won't repeat much of what I said to myself when I was disconnected. The key part was that starting from this year, we started implementing the Department of Science and Innovation NRF postgraduate student policy, which is aimed at addressing some of the gaps that are there in terms of inequity of access, and also pushing throughput, which has been one of the gaps where we had a lot of dropout cases being too high in postgraduate studies. So at the moment, and perhaps even going into the future, the key focus will be to ensure that we can retain high academic achievers in the system, so that they can pursue their postgraduate studies up to doctoral level. And as part of this big national drive to grow the next generation of researchers and academics, so that we can sustain the knowledge enterprise as a whole. So
Okay.
part of the issues that come in that, and I think the last speaker, I didn't get her name, raised a bit
Yeah.
when I just joined now. It talks to issues of mentoring as well, which is a critical aspect, because the bigger picture is not just funding the postgraduate student for the sake of funding you as a student, but we are saying we are trying to address this gap. We are trying to advance the knowledge enterprise of the country. So I think it makes more sense for all of us to start from the same point, and we grow from the very same point, to say what are these areas that will actually advance this knowledge enterprise together. And in that regard, it's not just the funding aspect. There are all these other elements that are required of mentoring and ensuring that the students are taken through the processes and are supported properly through their universities. because it's part of a bigger picture. It's not just a funding and we leave you on the side of the road.
Okay. So I mean, let's talk to base. Someone is just tuned in into the space and they're thinking, okay, there's the NRF. How do I qualify? I've just finished my undergrad studies. What are the things I need to look at for me to qualify for the NRF funding?
Indeed, that's a very good question, Deputy Minister. So the first part is that, let me take you through a process. So you just finish your degree and you are saying, I have interest in doing postgraduate studies and I don't have funding, but I want to apply for funding. What must I do? What the NRF does is we have this application system that is online, where there's a call that opens in April every year, and applicants can view these applications online, and they sort of, you go through this process, which, as somebody mentioned, that is lengthy, but we're trying to make sure that it is efficient and it captures all the necessary information. Then when you apply through that system, the applications get submitted to your university. So you apply through your university, and it is the university that will then go through the screening processes. When they are done, they will then submit the applications to the NRF. The reason the application might look lengthy is that there are parts where we start looking at the financial means assessment. We just don't want to fund people who don't really need the fund as well because of the limited resources. Of course, if we were living in an era where we don't have, financial constraints, we'll say, as long as you're excellent, we will prioritize you, we'll fund you. But now we're saying, let's look at those ones who are financially needy, those ones who are likely to make impact, and the ones who are likely to pass their degrees in record time. One of the requirements is for you to then have an average of about of at least 65% and above in the degree prior to, in the degree that's in the last degree that you obtain before the one that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a master's, probably at honors level, your average should have been at 65 and above.
Okay.
So that's one particular case.
And then is it strictly public universities and local universities, or do you also fund international students?
We have had some partnerships with international programs. People will know of the Fulbright program, for example, who are our partners, and we do fund degrees. But of course, the applications will have been made through the Fulbright scholarship, and part of the funding will come from us as NRF. So directly, we're not going to fund internationally per se. Am I still here?
Yes, you're still here.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll definitely come back to you, because I mean the NRF, I think, is quite a crucial institution as it relates to postgraduate funding. But just one or two specific questions. So the opening applications are opening in April.
Yes, to allow us to then process with the universities, and the university submitting to us, and having the panels to see it and do the evaluation. So in April, applications open, and students should apply through their respective universities.
Okay. And then at the end, we'll obviously give out more details, who to call, websites, and all of that. But I want to bring in Ruth, who's responsible for international scholarships at the Department of Higher Education and Training. Ruth, how many students do we have, just off the top of your head, who are studying abroad on government-sponsored scholarships?
Hi, good afternoon. At the moment, we are directly supporting about almost 300 students on our different programs. And then on other scholarships that we work in partnership with foreign governments, it's around about 300. So, yeah, close to 600 students.
Close to 600 students. And how does one apply for this?
So there's
And what does it entail?
all right. So there are lots of different scholarships available to study in quite a number of different countries. Our main scholarship programs that we work directly with are to study in Hungary, and that scholarship is about to open for applications. I think from early next week, anyone can apply to go and study in Hungary. And there are also programs to study in China, Russia, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Japan, France, Germany. There's so many different international scholarships available, and each one has its own application timeframe and processes. So we've gathered all of this information together and put it on our website to try and make it as easy as possible for anyone interested in studying abroad to find the information about what's available, what fields of study are supported, and what the requirements are. So our website, which is internationalscholarships.dhet.gov.za, we promote scholarships that are currently open for applications. But we also have a calendar of scholarships because it's quite complex to navigate the different programs that are open and when their closing dates are and what they're offering. So we put together a calendar of international scholarships to look at the year and see when the programs are opening for applications, for which countries, and what levels and fields of study are available for those programs. So really, our main role is to try and provide as much information as possible. And then also with some of the programs, we work directly with the countries that are offering the scholarships to guide them and help to make sure that the opportunities are accessible for South Africans.
And this is a combination of both undergrad and postgrad.
Yes, most of the scholarships are master's level. That's kind of
Okay.
where the biggest number is. But there are some bachelor scholarships and some PhD and postdoc and research programs available. But really the majority is at masters.
Okay. And then so I mean, you said next week is the Hungary partnership. But when one wants to keep tab of this, what should they do? Like to know which scholarship, when, how, and all of that.
Right, the best way is to go onto our website and we can browse for information there. But we also have an email subscription list. So anyone can put in their email addresses and then we email out information about programs as they open up. We also have a page on Facebook and on LinkedIn, which people can follow, and that those pages get updated constantly about different opportunities as they open up and links to get the right information and how to apply.
Yeah. Okay. So someone just gives you the detail, and then you'll constantly update them on whatever scholarships that are available.
That's right.
All right. Anza, you are referred to as a multiple award-winning scientist. Yeah, I haven't even won any award. Not for anything. Yeah, but tell us more about that.
Oh wow. Thank you for starting with that introduction because I'm seeing like the followers are coming in like a lot. With the multi-award winning, I guess it's just in science in my field we have what we call academic conferences. So you go in and you present your research and you write an abstract which is basically a short summary of everything that you've been doing in your research, and if it's accepted that means that it was good enough, and if it gets accepted for an oral presentation then you get to present your work in front of whatever panel is there. So I think I've entered like 6 or 7 and I've won. I think the latest one I won was the first PhD seminar hosted by Vets University last year. I was a runner up, and there's quite a few, man. From the top of
Yeah,
my head,
that's good.
yeah, I think that's the latest one that I remember. Yeah.
But you were a beneficiary of the Department of Science and Innovation scholarship, right?
Yes, so I got into GCRA in 2019.
What's GCRA now?
It's the Gauteng Regional Academy Award scholarship. So
Okay.
it's headed by the Department of Education in Gauteng. And what
Okay.
they did is from 2019, they started recruiting postgrad students because they used to only fund undergrad students. So I was one of the first 20, I think,
Okay.
postgrad students to be selected for the program.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And where are you studying now and what are you doing?
I am studying at Vets University. I am at the Department of Surgery at the Vets Health Science faculty. I'm doing my PhD and studying hypertension, basically trying to find mechanisms to explain what hypertension is or how it happens.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I'm sure there would be some people here in the space who want to ask some questions. How are you coping? The kind of support that you've received, as a recipient of the GCRA's what GRAC
GCRA.
GCRA bursary. So we'll definitely hear from them. But I want to bring in the CEO of FPNM CETA. Now, the CETAs have also had their play as it relates to postgraduate funding. A lot of the CETAs do that, and I think we'll obviously do the do engage with some of them outside of this, but the CEO of FPNM CETA is one of those CETAs that are, giving out postgraduate studies. Just tell us more about that, Feleng.
Thank you very much, GM. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for the session. So DM and colleagues, I think just in terms of our CETA, FPNM CETA, we do consider both undergraduates and postgraduates as well for funding purposes. So TM, what we actually do is we try, and because of we have a number of sitters that are, as maybe TM will talk to that further, that are focusing at different areas. FPNM sitter is looking at clothing, is looking at textiles related qualifications, is looking at forestry type of qualifications. We're looking at people that are interested in media studies, printing studies. But also TM, we are also driven by the country's needs and young people that are also interested in studying further. Where there are desperate situations, so where learners really, need support, who might not necessarily fall in our clothing, textiles, leatherware, footwear type related studies, printing type related studies, forestry type related studies. We do sometimes look at that subject to availability of funds. Just for an example, for now, we do have I must say a lot of focus has been on undergraduate DM. We have got just over 1,000 that we've looked at now. But we have also started looking at postgraduate, and in that field, colleagues, we really have looked at diverse qualifications. We've got people that are studying law that we are supporting. Some are in use at UCT and other institutions, but we also have those that are studying in the clothing and textile subsectors at postgraduate. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what are the requirements? What would you consider a perfect candidate for funding from the, for the FPNM SETA?
So for us, really, if you have a student has already enrolled with the university, we really look at that because we then believe that they would have met the prerequisites for that particular study. So we then look at those that already have got acceptance at institutions of higher education, higher learning. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, the National Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences was having a gala dinner for their postgraduate, for their PhD students, and they didn't invite me. Now, how do they deserve to get a scholarship or funding for their PhD, Prof. Musweta?
Good afternoon, DM. We were very considerate of your diary. You always attend all our events and are supportive at all material times. And thanks, colleagues, for joining this important conversation. So, the National Institute for the Humanities and Social Sciences has been in existence since 2013, and since 2013, we've been funding over 700 PhD students. To date, we've graduated over 300 of them registered at various universities. These are graduates or students in the humanities and social sciences broadly, from history, particularly history and languages, education, law, and economics are also included there. What for us is important is our working with the humanities and social sciences deans and universities, and making sure that the criteria for accepting those students is adhered to. We then provide a funding to cater for their stipends, for their books, for their travel. But over and above that, and I want to echo the sentiments of the CEO of NRF as NIHSS, what we also do over and above provide funding is that we also provide a mentorship a program where we have monthly, quarterly, sometimes even weekly workshops conducted by senior academics in the system to provide that intellectual home to our students. And I think this has worked in our favor. Our throughput rate as an institute is convincingly above the national and international benchmarks. But we also give our students an opportunity to participate in our annual conference, and that has just concluded this year and this week. And because we now have a growing alumni population of our fellows who are also interested in publishing. So life of a PhD does not end with just, and I've said this to our students with the red gown, it goes beyond that, and it requires funding. Publishing also requires funding. We've also we bring our alumni together at a national conference. So funding for postgrad, I don't want to make it an exceptional, but it is slightly different to undergrad. I think there's more to postgrad funding than just providing a scholarship. There needs to be that mentorship program. You also need to make sure that the funding also covers those academic exposures that someone also mentioned earlier on. It is also important for me to highlight that while all topics are important, it is also important for NIHSS to also steer students towards those relevant questions, high impact questions that also take our country forward. These can't just be relevant for instrumental reasons, but we also support those theoretical blue sky PhD programs. For us in 2022, we'll also be starting an MA program. The call will come out in the early parts of 2022. We will also issue, like we've been doing, thanks to the full support of the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. We'll also be issuing another call in the new year for a new cohort of PhDs. Over and above that, we also are funding senior academics in the system who are doing research. And there's one particular clause, an important clause for us in all of our research projects to senior academics, is capacity building. There also, we are encouraging our senior academics to bring on board honors students and master students, and that's how we also are funding students in the humanities and social sciences. I know that for humanities and social sciences students, budding doctors who have joined us, they will most probably lament the fact that there's not a lot of funding in the humanities and social sciences, and the institute was set up precisely to provide that funding. Thanks, DM, for inviting us into this important conversation.
Yeah, good. And I mean, the NIHSS have funded quite a number of successful doctoral and postdoctoral students.
Yes.
And most of them had went on to publish. Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yes, we are, and thanks for reminding me. I think, dear, most people don't know that you read our documents very, very closely. We also have a postdoc program that I forgot to mention. The postdoc program is precisely to turn those PhDs into publications, and we've successfully done that. Most of our postdocs are publishing in journals. We have a few of them who are currently converting their PhDs into books, and that's great success for the country that says it wants to also be a leader in the R&D space. But Deputy Minister, I think it is also important to know that in the humanities and social sciences, it is not just books and policy briefs and journal articles that are published. There's also what we call creative outputs. I think recently one of our postdocs, for example, had his own exhibition in one of the South Africa's leading galleries, and that's what we also want to encourage in the humanities and social sciences. Those kind of outputs are important in holding the fabric of our society together.
Okay, all right. We're going to start taking questions now, and I'm hoping that the people from the Sasol Foundation would find a way of reconnecting with us, Ms. Charlotte Mokoena, whom we lost together with a couple of other people when we had that rude interruption, but we're back in business. And I want to start with Zino Kola. If you want to ask a question, it could be to NRF, NIHSS, to Ruth, who's the Director for International Scholarships, or to ISFAP, Monet is there, or to the CEO of FPNM CETA, Feleng, any of those, if you've got a specific question, or even to the students. We have Kim, we have Anza. If you're there and you've, are an international student and you want to tell us a piece or two about your experiences, please do. But also, if you want to talk about some of the challenges around accessing, funding for post-grad, we've got a panel here that will help us navigate through some of those things. And I want to start with Zino Olo or Zamangwevu, who has requested to speak just as soon as this space started. So it's your turn now.
Sorry, excuse me, Deputy Minister. I had requested the microphone a while ago for Dr. Mali from Sasol. It wasn't for me because I'm sitting with her.
Oh, yes.
But we've handed over to Mayor Charlotte Mokoena. She's the one who will take over. I don't have a question.
Okay, is she here?
Yes, I think she is online.
Okay, we've sent her a request so that she speaks. She hasn't confirmed yet, but we'll get to that just in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, just ask her to to stay on. We are taking,
Okay, will do.
yeah, we taking questions, and we have SAUS, the South African um, Union of Students, who's connecting from this account. So it's important that also universities must decentralize themselves, particularly. Okay, SAUS.
Greetings, DM. Am I audible?
Very much.
Thank you, DM. This is Asivet Landro, the national spokesperson of SAUS on behalf of the union.
Yes.
Thank you, DM, to yourself and all the stakeholders which you have brought onto this platform. And thank you for the information, obviously. I think, DM, a specific issue, of course, there are many issues, but a specific issue I maybe wanted to touch on, and that has been a persistent issue, you will also know this, has been the issue of funding for PGCE students, which still probably to the largest extent remains unresolved. In fact, at one point, I think about 2 months back, NES, the chairperson of the NESPOS board at our engagement had given an undertaking and a commitment that he would return to us within 14 working days as to what would be the solution around that. So I wanted maybe to find out if from any of the stakeholders, including the department, have we been able to make any inroads in that regards? If so, to what extent? Especially, of course, as the year draws to an end. So yes, I think just briefly, it is that for now, at DM. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I think we'll attend to that.
DM?
Ms. Charlotte Mokwen, are you here?
DM, I'm here. Good
Are you
afternoon,
here? Yes.
and thank you for having us. I have a number of my colleagues on the space today. Thanks for having us. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to everybody that's connected here today. Thank you for the opportunity. Just to paint a picture of SASOL contribution to research, we have three areas. I mean, to student funding. We have three areas that we focus on. We focus on research and technology funding, which is generally a postgraduate funding and all the way to postdoctoral research. The second one is the undergraduate funding through the SASOL Foundation. And the other one is the skills programs aligned funding that we do via our HR programs. And all of that funding, especially the one in HR, starts at TVET colleges or into undergraduate, and then the SASOL Foundation also TVET colleges into undergraduates. I'd like to just highlight the postdoctoral research because one of our partners, NRF, is on here. And there was a question that you asked earlier as well on student success, which I'll touch on. In terms of funding, SASOL covered in the last 15 years, we spent around 300 million rand on research programs in collaboration with the universities. We had about 15 universities we collaborate with, and those are the universities that with SASOL we choose what research line should we follow. And in 2019, in the research postgraduate research, we had about 40 projects and 180 postgraduate students, and this time it's in 13 South African universities. We will be making a call later this month into early next year for a new cohort of research, postgraduate research, and we're looking to fund that going forward. There are details that you can find either on our website or follow our social media platforms, and we usually do post what we do. In terms of the SASOL Foundation on undergraduate, we have a success rate of 90% of our students because of the way we structured our bursaries and our funding support. It comes from funding to mentor psychosocial support, school to work transition preparations, accommodation, learning, and other infrastructure, including research infrastructure for those that require to do research. And the SASOL Foundation also, you follow us on our website or you check us on our social media platforms. We definitely are looking forward into building capability into the future, working with various stakeholders and partners, including the government, to prepare for the decarbonization of the country and prepare for those green economy skills. So as we move into the next funding cycle, we will be focusing on how we can build capacity and capability through funding of education, from TVET colleges all the way to postdoctorate, to support the just transition programs of the country and provide opportunities for students and for graduates to learn and play a part in the green economy of the country into the future. So let me stop at that, and my colleagues are here. They can take questions. And also, if you have any question for us, you can post it on our social media platform, and we can then get to you on email, for instance, or any other way. There are also other ways you can find us. So let me start at that, and then we are happy to take any questions, myself and my colleagues.
But you also, I mean, because we want to deal with both postgrad, but also undergrad, and I'm quite excited that you're also funding students in TVET colleges. But tell me more about your undergraduates bursary scholarships.
Our scholarships are primarily in STEM careers: chemistry, engineering, electrical engineering. But if you are in our fence-line communities, we also are supporting those students. And fence-line communities are our neighbors, where we operate the vicinity of the broader vicinity of Sasolburg and Secunda, Ekadastria, and other areas across the country. What we do with the engineering and non-technology qualifications is that we support, for instance, people that will be studying psychology, and we support students that are going to go into social work, medicine even, on a very limited scale for now. And the reason why we do that is that the needs of the community where we live is not only in engineering and in accounting, for instance. We do need nurses, we need doctors, we need all other careers that are like social work, that support the community and enable a thriving community now where we live, because we live there as our employees, and we're part of that community. So that's what we fund in our undergraduate.
Okay. No, I mean that should be exciting, and I really want to, want you to give us more of the information, as we will do with everybody else who came here, so that we're able to send it out there. And maybe you could plug in someone who's out there wants to do science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, both at TVET undergrad or at postgrad level. But one of the fascinating things that, and that's why I asked that, Sasol in particular should come in to speak, is that you provide quite extensive support beyond the actual bursary or scholarship itself, which is what the NRF, NICE, and some of the international bursaries that we have do offer. Because I'm sure you don't want to give someone a bursary and then they then get frustrated. From Musina, they go and study in Cape Town, and they don't have that actual psychosocial support.
Absolutely, DM. And that's one of the reasons why our success rate in undergraduate is 90% of the students that finish on time. It's simply because we meet our students where they are at. If they come from Messina and they land up in Cape Town, we have a support system that ensures that they succeed. And those support systems are embedded in every province, and we follow our students in every university, and we're always available. But we've got an extensive iCare services as well. So we are always available through our iCare partners for our students to reach that support. And any other student that has got a need beyond where you can call a psychologist or a social worker and have a chat with, we do actually provide from iCares into the Sasol Foundation. We find other means and ways of supporting those students. Right through the COVID pandemic, we kept in touch with our students. We made sure that they have all the support they need and all the equipment they require. And that's one of the reasons why we are really interested in that Messina, I nearly said a child, in that Messina student that come out of Messina and with flying colors wants to go into UCT. We want them to succeed. for themselves, for their community, for their families, and
Good.
they end up working for us as well.
Beautiful. Okay, stick around for if there are any questions, but I want to take Zubair. And you studied in Japan as part of the scholarship, Africa Business Education. Doing international business and all of that. So how did you get access to the scholarship, Zubair?
Hi, Honorable Buti, and thank you for the opportunity. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I've been truly inspired by all of the rest of the colleagues on the call, by all of the opportunities available, and especially from Kim and Anza, the fellow students. So great to hear the discussion today. So as you mentioned, my name is Zubair, and I had the wonderful opportunity to study in Tokyo, Japan. But before going into that, let me just take a step back and just give you the full background and let you know that when my younger brother and I were growing up, my parents were constantly encouraged us to read books, study, and educate ourselves. And we're now both very grateful for the sacrifices made by our parents, which has enabled my brother and I to be first generation university graduates in our family. And I'm sure there are many other friends on the call today who are also first generation university graduates who are now looking to go into postgraduate. So firstly, huge congratulations to all of you for getting your undergraduate degree. That is a massive milestone. So well done on that. So just taking you into the Abe scholarship and how I got into that. While I was studying in my early 20s, I experienced a life-threatening heart attack caused by an aneurysm in my coronary artery. And this traumatic event instilled in me a passion for life and a determination to maximize my human potential. So a year after I had this heart attack, I learned about the Abe Scholarship through the University of Johannesburg. And I applied because I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to live and study in Japan. And I was very fortunate and thoroughly surprised and to be actually awarded the prestigious Abe Initiative Scholarship to study a master's in international business in Tokyo, Japan. I graduated with a master's from one of the top leading private universities there, Rikyo University. I achieved a summa cum laude grade average. I graduated top of my class, and I was the only student in the class to be the recipient of the Dean's Award for Academic Excellence. And in addition to this, I was also elected to be the president of the Graduate School of Business Student Leadership Committee. Now, I just wanted to take a step back there and highlight to all of the students who are aspiring
Now you're
to
showing
study.
off.
I just wanted to.
I'm not stopping you. I'm excited by it. Yeah.
I just wanted to take a step back and highlight to all of the aspiring students on the call today that you have the potential and the ability to compete with the students in international universities from UK, from Japan, from USA, and you are able to come out on top and be the leader in your respective degrees. So just some word of advice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're looking to apply for the scholarships, please go ahead and feel free to get in touch with me if you're looking, if you're interested to apply for the Abe scholarship. Over to you, Buti.
Vuyo, do you have a question? Thank you, Zubair, for that. I mean, that was quite exciting stuff. But Vuyo, let's move on to Vuyo.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Good afternoon to you and everyone else. Thanks a lot to Zubair, the previous speaker, for everything that you've said. That was very inspirational. Deputy Minister, I don't have much to ask. Only one question, and my question is towards ISFAP. I just wanted to ask ISFAP about their closing dates for the next year academic calendar. Can I still apply, or have I missed it? or not? I just need information around that. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mone,
Yeah, thank you.
you want to
Yeah,
respond to
thank you,
that?
DM. Unfortunately, we closed on Sunday, the 31st of October. So we were open from 5 June 2021 until Sunday. So for next year, for now, we are closed. But do keep an eye on our social media, because sometimes we open some special applications if there are specific requirements for specific degrees, etc. But yeah, for now we are closed for 2022 applications.
Okay, 2023 is next year.
Yes, we
When?
will open in June for the 2023 applications.
Okay, all right. That's good. So keep on checking ISFAP, Vuyo, and hopefully you'll be successful for studying next year. Princess Ijoma, you got a
Yes,
question?
I do have a question. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister. Um, I am currently an international student studying in Ukraine. I am South African. I completed both my first degree in medical science and my honors degree in pharmacology, University of Pretoria. And then I've been trying to get into medicine in schools in South Africa, and I wasn't succeeding until I got this opportunity in Ukraine. And so I'm currently over here. However, I have been struggling with funding. And one of my biggest issues with trying to find a bursary and trying to find funding right now is that a lot of the bursaries that I've looked at are specifically for students who are going to be studying in South African registered universities. In addition to that, also the fact that my school curriculum is very different. I start in September, whereas most South African universities start in February. So the due dates for bursaries and when they're given out and all of that is very, very different. So I've been trying to raise funds for my school fees and also see if I can secure funds for the next 3 years, because I'm in the graduate entry program for medicine over here. So yeah, so I have that's sort of like a broad question to anyone here who does have any bursary opportunities or does know who I can contact to help me with this.
Would you want to respond to that?
Deputy Minister, I think you can take over this platform.
Okay. Okay, Prof Muswetsa, are you the only last one standing? So would you want to take that?
I can DM. I think it will be important at least to share our contact details and get further information on how we can assist. It is one of the things that I think the previous speaker mentioned that we should applaud is when we have many young people who want to study and are eligible to pursue these postgrad studies, and where we can, we should be able to assist. As someone from Sasol mentioned, let's share our details so that we are able to assist where possible. I think at this point, given the information provided, I can't give any definitive answers. As I said, from NIHSS, we do fund post grad students in the humanities and social sciences, defined broadly. I don't know if that assists, DM.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Now, we've just gotten notice that we actually going to be. I mean, this is going to be terminated anytime now, and so before it becomes very rude, the interruption. We want to continue this again next week because this has been quite exciting. We'll get a special time. We'll announce when, and I'll get commit to try and get all the people who've been on the platform, because we've lost also most of the panelists because of load shedding, I suppose. So we unfortunately have to end it here. Before we get rudely interrupted again, we'll get some time next week. We'll announce when, how, and all of that, because this has been quite exciting. And there's so many of you who's requested to speak and all of that. Unfortunately, we cannot continue with this, but I